Okay, so we're discussing G.X. Jupiter Larson's book, Nile Adrem, published by Hess Press. Speaking with G.X. Jupiter Larson, and we're going to just look through the book and have a bit of a narration of what's going on. Let's start with this cover image, because I actually, this is from Berlin from 1981.
1991.
1991, excuse me. And it's actually sideways.
It is sideways.
But I feel like it makes a pretty odd...
Well, it's so dark that you can get away with it sideways.
Yeah.
But no, that was the first or the second performance I did that year in Berlin. And it was one of the... officially, the title of the performance piece is a trapeze number, but most people refer to it as one of those smash 'em up gigs. And it's where we collect a lot of discarded furniture and other material and make it into rubble.
So this is material that you just sort of gathered at site.
Yes.
And what was the venue of this? Like, is the venue helping you collect this stuff, or do they know what's going on?
The promoters are helping collect the material. And yes, the venue was... it was kind of not really a gallery. It was more, not really a bar. It was kind of a club, more like a kind of artsy club.
And how were you contacting people in around that time, like in the early 90s? Like,
They would contact me.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and they knew that I was coming to Europe for an extended stay, so there was a number of performances had been set up, and I just traveled, basically couch surf across Europe, back and forth for a number of months, and go to a new town and do a new performance, and then go to the next town and repeat the process.
Tell me about this picture, because
Okay, so that's my first attempt at the ventriloquist act with a dummy, and yes, I'm operating his mouth just to be pure. And Denver, that would have been in Denver in let's see, 80s, I guess. Something like that.
Yeah.
And it was at a bar. Boyd Rice was DJing. Random. He thought it was actually quite funny. He couldn't stop laughing because he immediately, as most of the audience, understood the joke in the first second. And
this was a one-time piece, right? You never re-performed this?
I had hopes of making this my new career, but it didn't go anywhere. The joke was funny; it just wasn't funny enough to keep me going.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is interesting about this picture is that it was lost for so long. I had a copy of it on that VHS tape. You had glued it to that. But it makes me wonder how much of this type of material there is out there that's lost to obscurity. I mean, I think that you do a reasonable job at documenting and preserving your own work, but I also get the sense that there is a lot of stuff that's just sort of...
Oh, yeah, because this is actually a frame grab from videotape, from a Hi-8 video.
There's a video of this?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes, there is. And I know I have it. I just don't know exactly where. But I know I have the tape. Oh, yeah, I have the tape.
Oh, we need to find that.
Yeah.
Here we have a couple paintings. These are... So this is much more recent.
Much more recent in the last few years. Each painting I do has the same title. I don't number them. I don't date them, other than the year. Not an image of the Tortomorphos or not the Tortomorphos. Each decade, the title keeps getting shorter, so I guess I do give them different titles. It's a painting of noise, a painting of static, for the most part, to make a long story short. The Tortomorphos is this concept of it deals with the nature of conclusions, and the way that I like to express this idea is by illustrating what it is not. And I won't get into why, but it's been a really great inspiration for me to continue painting over the years. And
did you? When did you start painting? Because is
in
that not
the
also in
mid-70s,
Okay.
as a teenager.
Okay, so there has been a process of that over the years.
Oh yeah, they were all figurative paintings, expressionistic. Back when I was a teenager, screaming, vomiting faces mostly, and in my 20s that turned into disembodied eyeballs. That continued through my 20s into my 30s. Starting in my 30s, the work became increasingly more abstract. By late 30s, early 40s, I started with this theme, not an image of the Tortomorphos or not the Tortomorphos. And whereas when I started, they were more like assemblage type pieces, at least during the 40s and my 50s. Late 40s, early 50s. Now they're no longer assemblages, or very few of them are. I basically now deal with flat surfaces. I feel that they have enough depth. I did assemblages because I wanted a sense of a lot of depth within the image. And but I feel like layering the paint and varnish that I do with these pieces, that I achieve the sense of depth without actually having to build three-dimensional surfaces to do the paintings on. So there on the left is a casual shot of my untitled title belt. People who know me know my lifelong relationship with professional wrestling. And I felt that if the $1 Million Man can design and make his own title belt, then heavens to Betsy, I can do likewise. So I had a friend do the metal work. Damian Ramirez did the internal wiring. And my friend Paul Stahl from Body Manipulations up in San Francisco, he did the leather work.
So is there's obviously a plug here, and then there's some sort of electronics behind this plate?
Yeah, it makes pretty much a pretty consistent buzzing noise for the most part. But it has 3 outs and 1 in, I think, something like that. You can use it either as a sound generator or an effects pedal, depending which way the signals are going.
And then these are...
the plates have
several...
dates, which at the time were meaningful to me.
Yeah. And then this is obviously much older.
Yeah, this is again from the late 80s. Part of a trip that I made with Mersbow, actually. This is in Nijmegen, probably 89, I would think. The multidimensional joke about bondage. It's a piece I've done a few times, not that often. So basically there's a reel-to-reel deck somewhere on stage, and it's playing this reel-to-reel tape, but the tape is allowed to collect on the floor. The tape has laughter, just perpetual, nonstop laughter. And as the tape plays, I take the tape that's dribbled onto the floor and use it to tie somebody up with.
This is from No Fun Fest.
Oh, well, the No Fun Fest, yeah. So that, great images, they don't really tell what's going on. Jessica is sitting on a chair, and everyone's trying to push her off the chair, and we're basically making this noise, and the show is over once someone finally gets to push that poor girl off her chair. Anyway, it was very funny. It seemed to piss a lot of people off, but everyone on stage, including Jessica, were laughing, but the audience seemed not to understand the humor behind it. But
well, I think there were maybe a split reaction.
A split reaction? That's fine, as long as they're reacting. And of course, ironically enough, the only person to get hit in the head with a flying object from the audience was Jessica. So I don't know if that was pro or anti-Jessica, but there you have it. Oh, yeah, so the next page is an early version of the Drunken Decay performance, which essentially is dragging an amplified tin funnel on a sandpaper turntable. Sonically, probably one of my most successful performance pieces as far as really being able to deliver a really thick sound. Kind of a story arc or a narrative arc. Every time I did the performance piece, I hung the funnel on, off, or from something bigger than the time before. So that's an early version because it's a stool. I think the largest object we ended up using towards the end of that series was a truck hoisted on at a garage.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
Oh yeah, the photos are around.
So, also, I remember you telling me once that there was sort of a pivotal moment where you started using like the direct sounds of entropy in your work, and I'm wondering if this seems like, you know, the sort of grinding source seems to really play to that, and I'm wondering if this is an early piece in that direction.
The first piece kind of in that direction really would have been the Thinking Ross did, or the Thinking Ross does, where I'm pushing a calculator against sandpaper. And then after that, it would have been, I forget the name of the piece offhand, but the microphone. Pushing microphones into sandpaper and then into grinders. Oh, the grinding gig. Yeah, of course.
Grinding gig.
The grinding. I kept thinking I named it after the microphone, but actually I named it after the grinder. Those predate Drunk on Decay. Drunk on Decay is probably towards the end of that discovery of using erosion as a live sound source.
This is from KFJC, is that right?
That's right. Mayuko, formerly of CCCC, we did a piece together. That's, calculator on sandpaper.
Yeah, microphone.
Was it a microphone? It is. Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. But it's the microphone on sandpaper, not microphone on power grinder. I had one effects pedal, the microphone, and a piece of sandpaper in my pockets. And when she was setting up, I liberated my material, and she looked at me and gave me that famous Japanese expression, which is a combination of delight and disgust. But it was a great radio show. This is a live to air. She was performing with her theremin and the gear that she normally uses, and she had a lot of little sounds. Just, I remember a cascade of tiny little sounds, and my sound with the audio that I was creating was a pretty good general background hiss behind her. Very tiny bits of detail that were floating. Anyway, it was a great performance. It wasn't properly recorded, but it was certainly a lot of fun. Probably the most fun I've ever had on radio.
These are Bangbox? Is that
right? Very good. Yeah, Bangbox. So 90s, Bangbox was designed and built by Chip Finn, who at the time was a member of Survival Research Laboratories. It's a big metal box, but it has a very thick, bulletproof plexiglass in the front, and there's a hole on top, and so we drop firecrackers and fireworks of one kind or another, bottle rockets and the like, through the top and let them explode inside the box, and you get to watch the light show. And there's also a lot of smoke, of course, and some fire, but it's all contained with, the smoke's not contained, but everything else gets contained.
So this is probably San Francisco only.
San Francisco at a gallery space.
Was this a one-off, or did you do this?
We were going to do it quite a few times, but we couldn't afford the fireworks, so we only did it once.
There was also, on the live DVD, there's a very brief video of what looks like an explosion on the side of a mountain or something like that. Is that connected?
So orchestrated explosions happened at Lost Skulls Mine up in Nevada. And we blew up a hill. But again, thanks to my colleagues at Survival Research Laboratories who really wanted to do the haters right and use explosions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another kind of explosion here.
Well, that's paper tearing. That's one of we had a lot. There was a lot of performers on stage, and they had a lot of paper, and we just kept tearing the paper. There's probably pre-recorded sounds of paper tearing, so nothing I don't think was really amplified. But there was the action of having that many performers all tearing pages out of discarded books and just completely covering the bar and stage
According
and
to
audience with pages.
Yeah, according to my notes, this is 95 and this is 87.
87 is the mattress, cutting a mattress into, shreds.
Yeah.
The mattress probably was amplified, or one of the cutting tools would have been amplified. Mattresses are easy to find, so that's why there would be a mattress type performance, because they're easy to find. You drag it to the gallery space and you get out your knives or your razor blades and just start cutting.
A few more examples of the paintings here.
Yes, and same idea, not the Tortomorphous. I use different color palettes just to keep things interesting. Yeah. So this was Seattle, and this was the 25th anniversary show for the Haters. One of the original lineups of the Haters got back together, and for this particular show, each one of us had a calculator. So we're re-interpreting the thinking Ross did, but instead of one person with a calculator, each one of us, there was 4 of us, and each one had his own calculator, and we each had our own sandpaper, and we're going at it together. It was fun because a lot of those guys I hadn't worked with for over 10 years, and it was nice to kind of bring them up to date at that time to what I was interested in, what I was trying out at the time.
Yeah.
The Puppet Show. This is the San Francisco version of the Puppet Show. This was at the Old Kennel Club. We were actually opening up for a lecture by Mark Pauline, again another SRL connection. The puppets actually were designed and built by, again, Chip Finn from SRL, the same guy who built the Bang Box. And this, I think, is before the Bang Box, but we only did this piece 3 times, twice in San Francisco and once in LA. And the puppets were supposed to mimic what the Haters were well known for doing at that time, which is to smash stuff up. But it was like not a labor-saving device, they were like a labor-intensifying device, because they made the smashing the junk up so difficult because the springs were so tight and they were very awkward and difficult. So it took a tag team. Sometimes a couple times we had 6, 7, 8 puppeteers, each taking turns operating the puppet. And so the idea is that it was like a tag team in wrestling. Once you got too tired to operate the puppet, you tag off to someone else who would then come in and replace you to keep the energy up during the whole performance. The puppets were amplified. They all had contact mics, and I think at this particular variation, AMK was doing a live mix of the different mics from the puppets.
This is the cover image again.
So the one on the right is Den Bosch, an early performance in Den Bosch is in Holland. So the idea there, that's probably 85 maybe 84, 85?
87 is
oh,
my
really?
notes.
Okay,
yeah.
well, that's right then. So in 87, so we're watching blank static on a TV set, and the TV is being amplified really loud, but we're just sitting there watching the empty static, when you could still get empty static on a TV set. And again, it's another theme of the void and nothingness and one's reaction to the void. And I really love television, and I'm really into the void. So this is like This is the utopia. This is like, this is my utopia, sitting in front of an empty TV screen with static going.
Well, I know that the first Haters performance was smashing VHS tapes, right?
Yes.
And also you had film festival submission of a blank tape that was
Yeah.
was that your first film? Was that your first film?
The first one I'll admit to.
Okay.
Blank Banner. Yeah, well, because I had done other experiments in filmmaking, video art, and I had actually done. I went to college and studied film animation, and so I'd already had a bit of a history with filmmaking, but before Blank Banner. But Blank Banner was kind of like the first real success, the first video or film I had done, which I really thought really captured an essence of myself on some level. And the fact that I could convince multiple film festivals and video festivals to screen it, I thought was a big success on my part.
Kohino again?
Yeah.
And this is the spinner spade?
This is the vertical spinner spade, amplified toy shovel on a empty turntable. And again, grinding, kind of erosion, maybe not as dramatic as the calculator on the sandpaper or the microphone on the power grinder, but...
Well, it seems like it's very similar, in fact, to grinding the microphone, but it's sort of like an automation, or you let the erosion come to you, in a sense.
In a sense, yeah. On the right, we have the pump-powered Permawave. It's essentially a really basic synthesizer, and the pumps work as a on-off trigger. But it's disguised inside of what's hidden inside a suitcase. There was a series of performances, Loud Luggage, Booming Baggage, and this is an extension of that. I like the idea of using a pump to activate the machinery, because it's not the trigger mechanism that is normally used in anything. I got tired of watching people twist knobs, so I thought I'd start pumping.
And then, of course, we have this.
Which is
again.
these are both suitcases are sound generators, and it's usually a heavy hum. Let's see. Well, actually, now the photo on the left is, I think it's another anniversary show.
25th from LA. This is me?
No, that's gonna be. No, you're right. I was gonna. It's Venice Beach, but yes, LA.
Yeah, this is Beyond Baroque, right?
And Beyond Baroque, and it's Jessica in her sandpaper dress, and then I'm pushing a microphone against her body. And you can see the noise belt, the untitled title belt. I have it draped over my shoulder. It was an additional sound source. And then the other side, I believe, it's not Nashville. It's
this says Cleveland.
That's Cleveland. That's
2001.
Cleveland.
Is this at?
It's a trip with Ron Lessard and Skin Crime, and
this is probably at Now That's Class, or Speak in Tongues.
Speak in Tongues.
Speak in Tongues. Was this through Ralph? Maybe was he involved with this?
I don't remember. Probably though.
Yeah, probably.
Japan. That's at the night I performed at Milk, and I think that's the encore I did. I can't tell from here, but that's the first night I performed in Tokyo.
And it's the tour from 1999. Did you do more than one tour there? Or
no, I've only been just the one. We were there for a month,
wow.
So we made the most of it. Performed in Tokyo a few times, as well as Osaka and other cities in between. But it's the only time I've had the opportunity to go.
Yeah, I think I was there right after that.
So here we have Mind the Gap. There's two different versions of Mind the Gap. The first one is from Austria. It was part of a live broadcast on National Austrian Radio. And then the other side is, I think it's in Lowell.
Lowell, yeah.
Yeah, and anyway, yeah. So amplified staple gun, stapling records together, that would of course shatter and break in the process. It is what it's just the entropy at the time. So there's Paris on the left. So that's a couple things going on. I had two performances going on at the same time. There's the Thinking Ross Does, which is a calculator on sandpaper, which is taped to the top of the TV set. And then I have the tire over my shoulder. There's someone behind me with a power grinder, and he's actually slicing and dicing and cutting the tire up. That was a performance piece called Changing the Tire. And on the TV set was a video of a earlier San Francisco version of the same performance. It was funny to see how many people in the audience watched the TV more than the live version that was next to the TV.
Some clicky-click aftermath.
Yes, yeah, the confetti, which I always think looks so great after
Yeah.
the show's over. It's amplified hole punch, handheld hole punch.
And that was your gear for the Japan tour, right? Was
Mostly, yeah.
simply a
yeah.
hole punch and
Yeah.
some pedals.
There's another variation of the spinner spade, but this is toy shovels that had been amplified, and then I have a little battery-operated turntable spinning sandpaper. So it's a slightly different version. One that was more easy to take on the road. I think that was the Portland Noise Festival, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the Portland Noise Fest. I forget.
Eugene, it says.
Oh, it's Eugene. Well, that was
Yeah.
close, isn't it? Not that far. Yeah, Eugene Noise Fest. There's the one on, so both pictures from Japan. The one on the left is K2 and I as the haters. And you can see we're doing the click-a-click. I have the noise belt as an additional sound source. And then on the right, it's Koji from MSBR.
Oh, really?
And I as the haters.
Oh, I thought they were. Yeah, I always assumed they were both K2.
Well,
That's
it's because
cool.
they shared the same mask.
Yeah, I see that now. Yeah,
Actually, Koji picked out the mask and he loaned it to K2.
that's cool. How when did you get in touch with K2? Because I feel like
K2 and I had been together since '85.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did you connect back then?
Well, because he found out about me through I think Masami.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Masami and I had been in touch since '82 at least. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, we have Changing the Tire on the right and the Thinking Ross Does on the left. Okay, so the only photo from Italy, that's on the left, amplified, building empty holes. So I have an amplified drill and drilling lots of holes into wooden furniture till there's no furniture left. A nice variation on the theme. On the other side, and another on the top, it's another German performance. This is when I'm shoving calculators into little electric fans. And then on the bottom, it's San Francisco, and it's watching mud dry. And I forget the conversation I overheard, but someone said that sounds like as much fun as watching mud dry. And so we all got together and we all watched mud dry. And we had a pile of mud and then some heating lamps. And then so we sat and watched. And you know what? It was fun. It was really intense. Everyone else said it was really exhausting to watch.
So these are just little piles of
Dirt.
of dirt there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Now, you have a story to tell about the picture on the left.
This is from the Lava Audio Festival. When I first moved to California in 1998, one of the first shows I heard about was this festival in Oakland. So, of course, I came up to see it. It had a good lineup, and this is where we met in person for the first time. I also met Phil Blankenship for the first time at this show, as well as a lot of people. But quite a few enduring friendships resulting from from this trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is you and AMK here?
No, it would be
No?
me and Russ.
Oh, wait, who's Russ?
Mr. Hate from the Radio Free Hatred show.
Oh, from KFJC.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think I also met AMK at this show.
Yeah, he was there.
But I was always under the impression that was him. Oh, I stand
it's
corrected.
And again, it's amplified drills
Yeah.
on wood.
And then this is from San Francisco, I think. San
Yeah,
Francisco
this is
Festival.
maybe the first first or second attempt to do the spinner spade.
Mm-hmm.
So on the left is a performance from the 90s. This is from Vienna. Again, I do a lot of work with Austrian National Radio, in particular a show called Kunstradio. And they do a lot of radio art episodes and presentations and what have you. And this is yours truly doing the performance with the calculator on sandpaper for about 45 minutes. And this was live to national radio. And this was done at one of their palaces of fine art that they have around the city of Vienna, and there's a live audience. It was a very large room, and it was full of people, and it was being broadcast live to the nation, to the German-speaking world. And I guess someone had made a comment that I guess the one of the head directors of Austrian radio said he didn't want to hear any more shows that sounded like radio static. I think this was a critique to some of the avant-garde shows they had at the time, and a lot of people in the audience thought it was really funny because he meant it as a criticism of work that wasn't supposed to sound like radio static, and my performance was every attempt to do something that sounded exactly like radio static. So,
Okay. So we are...
in Vienna.
Yeah, continuing, I guess, on the right page.
I don't remember what that is. That looks like San Francisco, though.
Oh, actually, no, on the right page, this is the performance that we did at Family, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with the black
Right. Okay.
Chad. And then the ground has this sort of spray paint on it or something, but it really looks like a...
It looks like a negative image of something.
Yeah.
Couple more paintings. The one on the right features a couple eyeballs that Jessica painted. And Jessica and I have done a lot of collaborations, both on and off stage, I guess, as the saying goes. But we originally started collaborating visually, doing collage works together and little paintings together.
Have many of the collages been seen?
No. Let's see, it's Mind the Gap, the amplified staple gun on records. That's on the left. Another narrative arc is that each time I did this performance, I had more records.
Do I remember correctly the Mind the Gap CD on Vinyl Communications, right? Or
Yes.
is that on... Yeah.
No, it was Vinyl Communications.
What is the buildings on the back cover of that album?
Love Canal.
What's that?
Love Canal is a suburban area that got heavily polluted from various illegal dumping, and also legal dumping of toxic material. the entire area was just not fit for human habitation, and so everyone was evacuated. And it's one of the, I think it happened in the 70s. It was one of the first times that an entire city had to be evacuated because of hostile pollution.
Wow.
And we drove through, and I took pictures.
Where was that?
Love Canal? Gee, what state is... I can't remember what
Yeah.
state it's in, actually. But if you Google Love Canal, you should get all the information. It's pretty notorious.
Sure.
Another variation of changing the tire. Mike Dandu from Condom is the other performer. He's on the right. And that
There was a lot of work with him, right?
there was actually, yeah. Yeah, every time I went to England, he was one half the haters.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like over the different eras, there's a lot of sort of usual suspects of certain
Yeah.
certain geography or.
Another Cleveland version of on the left there. That's of course Drunk on Decay. That's when we're suspending the funnel from a motorcycle. This probably was one of the last times we did the piece before we hung it from the truck.
And this is the same piece, right?
The same piece, yeah. That even a bigger, this kind of abstract sculpture. Joe Crawley from Crawl Unit took that picture. That's at the old 7 Hertz space in San Francisco.
Oh, is it? Yeah. That explains the high ceiling. What this sculpture was just a found piece, right?
Absolutely, just found outside the gallery, and so we dragged it in, and I said, "That'll look good."
But was it somebody from 7 Hertz? Or?
No one knew where it came from, or who made it. It was obviously some kind of prop made for something, but
Yeah.
it was heavy. It wasn't light. It was plywood, but it was heavy. New York is on the left side. That's I forget the person that the funnel's being hung from. I don't remember her name, but that's Crank Sturgeon as the other member of the Haters.
Oh, wow.
And then the wheelchair, that's probably Texas, Austin.
Yeah, Austin.
It was the day after.
97.
Yeah, it was right after an SRL show, the following night. And that was the Longhorn Speedway in Austin, Texas, where I got to perform through Speedway's PA system, which was kind of neat, kind of interesting acoustically.
That's the Voice of Victory.
What became Voice of Victory, yeah, the release. And that was the following night at some bar in Austin, a variation of Drunk on Decay. San Francisco on the left, that's the Purple Onion. If anyone knows the history of the Purple Onion, that's AMK and Paul Stoll, who have the power grinders, and I have the microphone. And just as a variation on the theme, instead of shoving the mic into one power grinder, I'm shoving the microphone into 2 power grinders. It's a fun show, a very fun show to do.
This one is from...
It should be Seattle.
Seattle 2007. That's Jessica, right?
That is Jessica.
What's going on here? Because this scenario looks sort of atypical for that era.
We didn't have a lot of options as to what we could get away with at that particular venue, so we just decided to tear stuff up. And the audience got a little excited, but the promoter was very reserved. So was trying to discourage enthusiasm in the audience. It was a very odd night, but it was fun. Colin Upton, who's a cartoonist and one of the early original members of the Haters, was there. It was Jessica and myself. And it was the 3 of us. And yeah, we're mostly tearing paper, and a few things got broken along the way. And that's a pretty good shot of the vertical spinner spade.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I think that's the book.
That sounds good.